this year's President of the General Assembly. In this interview, you will see me talking with Frau Radmanesh, who has kindly agreed to share her story with us. She describes her escape from the GDR and how she's never looked back since. Currently, Frau Radmanesh works at the German Embassy in Washington. I hope you enjoy the interview.
What is your country of origin, and where do you live now? So where did you migrate from, and then where are you living currently?
So I was born and raised in East Germany, in Leipzig. I grew up there, and then I escaped from East Germany to West Germany in the late or mid 80s. Right now, I work for the German Embassy in Washington, and I live here, or I have been living here for the last 2.5 years.
Thank you. What were the main reasons for you leaving the GDR?
Good question. I think there are a lot of reasons. I guess the main reason is just the prospect that you would never be able to see the Western Hemisphere, and you were kind of, contained to stay within the Eastern Bloc countries. And since I like to travel very much, it was just unbelievable it was just unimaginable for me to think that I would never see countries like India, China, Japan, Australia, and the United States. So that is basically the main reason.
So you migrated for a feeling that you can travel, you can see the world, so that you can so you can escape that confinement of the GDR.
Exactly, that was the main reason, and so I also, with traveling there comes experience, and I guess if you only have one life, you think about experience in a totally different way, and I wanted to have this experience. Also, I think in East Germany the possibilities to pursue your passion in terms of your profession or other activities were quite limited. So I think I saw better possibilities, better opportunities in West Germany to pursue my ideals.
So from the GDR, when you wanted to escape, where did you want to go, and did you end up there?
I didn't have a exact target where I wanted to go. I was dependent on friends of ours who provided shelter for me. So I ended up in North Rhine-Westphalia in a little town called Wetter an der Ruhr, and I joined the 13th grade. Back then we still had 13 years of school. So and I ended up there, and I started my studies at the University of Bochum, and I was fine to live in the western part of Germany, in North Rhine-Westphalia. It was a great area. You could do a lot, so I was perfectly fine to live there.
Could you describe the journey you had fleeing from the GDR? So specifically how you got out of the GDR?
So I guess I have to start with the fact that I was a gymnast and a rhythmic gymnast. And I was a member of the national team for the GDR. So we had competitions in Eastern Bloc and Western Bloc countries. So when I ended my career as a performance or as a gymnast in the national team of East Germany, I joined a group that was called, it was like a sports show, and other athletes were members of this group. But I guess the special thing about this group was that we were able to travel to Western countries, and so we did quite a lot. We did quite a lot of traveling to Italy, France, Berlin, West Berlin back then, Finland, other countries, Spain in the European Union. So when I traveled to Spain during one of the events we did with this sports show, I decided to separate myself from the group. And we had friends in Madrid. They provided me shelter, and I asked them for help. So next day, after I escaped, one of their friends was working. Actually, in fact, it was a neighbor. He was working for the West German embassy in Madrid, and he offered me to take me to the West German embassy and assisted me with getting a passport, stuff like that. So that was basically it. So I just separated myself during the night. No one knew that I was escaping. I couldn't tell anybody, and I just left the hotel and jumped into a cab and drove to our friends, which was quite exciting because I knew in this moment that I was never be able to return to East Germany, and I wasn't really sure whether I would see my parents again, my friends again. There was a pretty big cut in my life.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. After you then did escape the GDR and entered into West Germany, how was your integration process? So, or I guess, assimilation process. How did you feel that you fit into that West German life after you had escaped the GDR?
The beginning was quite awkward because, as I told you, when I joined the 13th grade in this gymnasium in the school, I mean, the way the lifestyle was different. It was just much more modern and crazy and more liberal. I wouldn't say crazy, but more liberal. So I had to get used to that. I was used to a more disciplined kind of lifestyle. Everything was in order, and you weren't allowed to do so many things. So that was nice in a way, but it also challenged me to rethink the way I live and what I want, and gave me all the possibilities that I could pursue, and it was just it was very challenging at the beginning, but soon enough I adjusted pretty well, and I was young, so I guess if you're young, you adjust very well to your surroundings and to your peers, and I guess after a year I did pretty well, and I started to join, or I started my studies. I joined the university, and everything felt kind of normal. It was a very smooth process, but I took a couple or I hit a couple bumps in the beginning, but that was okay. I mean, that was kind of expected.
Okay, so you felt like you were assimilated well. There was no hostility or anything towards you as I guess, fleeing from the GDR. You felt
No, there was no. I guess there was no hostility at all. There was more curiosity. They were so, like my peers, they were so curious about the East German system and the differences, and they asked me a lot of questions, and actually they were quite helpful and supporting in the beginning. So of course there are always one or two or three who are a little bit more hesitant to get in touch with you because they don't really know whether, or they're maybe insecure about themselves. But most of them, I would say, were very friendly, supporting. And
thank you again, Frau Radmanesh, for sharing your story with us. To all you watching, I hope you have a great rest of the conference, and I'll see you at the closing ceremony on Saturday.